We're women. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Good Day Chula Vista. And if you ever get a divorce or have some issues with family and you need an attorney, then you're going to love this interview today. So stay with us.
Everybody can know who we are. Just
Welcome back. Well, I'm here with Estela de Orduna. She has a very special last name. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I think it's I was so excited that you were local. You're here just like 2 blocks from the office.
Yes.
And we've been blessed because lately we've been having a lot of people here, like, you know, just professionals that are coming by and they're local here in Eastlake. So how wonderful is that? So before we get started, thank you for being here and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am originally from Mexico. I lived and went to school in Mexico City until I was about 15 years old. And we moved to Tijuana. I graduated from law school in Tijuana at the Iberoamericana University.
Mm-hmm.
I did a master's degree there, and then I realized that women weren't. I was working for a very large firm,
Mm-hmm.
Deloitte International, and I realized back then that women didn't make partners. It was only men. In all of Latin America, there were 2 women partners.
Wow.
In Mexico, there was 0. So I was not about to stay there for less than a chance for a partnership. So I thought the United States was the next best thing. I just didn't know how difficult it was going to be. It took me quite a lot longer than I thought. And I graduated. I was very fortunate to be able to graduate from a master's at the University of San Diego.
Uh-huh.
I got a great opportunity. A lot of people helped me be able to do that, and then take and pass the California bar exam, which was incredibly hard. But it was all that effort that took a little over 5 years. It paid off because I love the career that I have today,
Yeah.
and it has paid off in many ways that I didn't expect. Also because now I'm able to take cases that are international, especially cross-border. And I don't need an attorney in Mexico because I am an attorney in Mexico. So I can handle both sides of the border. That gives the clients a lot of reassurance.
Yeah.
And it saves a ton of time, a ton of fees.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot more fun for me because I don't need help.
Yeah, you can do it all yourself.
Yeah.
So, and you live here also in Chula Vista or here in South Bay?
I live in South Bay. I worked for many years in downtown, and downtown is beautiful. I like the beautiful part of it. I just didn't like the parking and the traffic. So I'm really glad to be back in Chula Vista because I live in Bonita,
Uh-huh.
which is right next door with Chula Vista. So I
Yeah.
prefer to stay in South Bay.
Yeah, no traffic. I know we're so blessed here. We're used to like no traffic. Just so you know that our friends on Facebook and everybody that's watching us, you can be at the camera if you want to talk to them. It'll be on that camera.
Sure.
So, thank you. So I'll get to show you right now, like everybody that's watching us here, and then if there's any comments and questions,
Sure.
so that way we can answer the questions. Well, that's great. And so I think it's such a good thing that you speak Spanish also. You're bilingual. You can work in Mexico because you're an attorney there. That just brings like a whole separate profit to the people that are hiring you, that are retaining you, because they're getting like 2 lawyers
Yes.
for the price of one.
For the price of one.
That's great. That's wonderful to know. You know, people, as realtors, we do get a lot of calls like, hey, do you know an attorney? I'm getting a divorce, when they're trying to sell their house and they call you. And we do have people that do bankruptcies and stuff, but I didn't have anybody in my portfolio for family law. So I'm so glad to meet you and know that you're
Thank you.
bilingual. That's going to be great. So let's get started with some of the questions that you help us put together. It's kind of what the people usually ask. So, what is the difference between regular attorneys versus a family attorney?
In the legal arena, there are specialties, just like, for example, you would have in medicine. If you need to have brain surgery, you're going to want to go to a specialist.
Right.
You're not going to go to a general practitioner. So there, any attorney is going to start from the bottom, and usually, especially those of us who litigate, usually we start doing basic civil litigation. Civil litigation encompasses many things, and thankfully for me, I started with a few civil litigation cases, and slowly I started veering into family law. And I think the reason why I stayed in family law is because I like the interaction with a client. And back then I was working for a law firm, and my boss saw that, especially the Spanish-speaking clients, were able to understand me not just because of the language, but because I knew how to interpret it correctly.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
a big
born in
difference.
Mexico.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference because I
Yes.
know the culture and the language and the slang, and being able to transmit information that is sometimes very complex, very technical, and translated into simple words that anyone can understand is very important. Because at the beginning of my career, I noticed that there were some clients that walked with me into the courtroom. I did what I thought was a spectacular job, and we came out, and the client asked me what happened. They didn't even know that we just won. And it kind of took away from the satisfaction of a job well done, because they didn't understand anything of what went
was going on.
on in the courtroom, even though they had a Spanish-speaking interpreter that was translating
What they were saying.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. They got lost. So what I do now, and I've been doing it for several years, is I let them know what's going to happen, what could go wrong, what are the possible results, why. So the client goes in knowing what's going to happen. It is part of the job. That's why you want an attorney that is specialized in a certain area. Because if you hire an attorney that because it's your cousin and it's not going to charge you very much, or it's free, but what they do is patent law, and you want to get a divorce, I wouldn't recommend it. Honestly, it's not the ideal.
Yeah.
They can do it. Technically, they can. Any attorney can do a divorce. Is it a good idea? No.
No. You're negotiating like the rest of
Not
your
at all.
life, especially if you're getting a divorce. So, okay, so that's, but they could handle the case. It's just that they're not going to be a specialist on on that area.
And if you put me right now in a criminal courtroom, and I had that happen, thankfully a long time ago, but when it happened, they put me in a criminal court, supposedly in a very simple matter. I was lost because I wasn't used to it. And it shows,
Right.
which is worse. So you don't want to go with an attorney who looks lost for a mile away. The other attorney's going to have a field day. So you want to have a specialist. If you want to hire an attorney, hire the right one.
Mm-hmm. So what is family law?
Family law encompasses a lot of things. It's a lot more complex than people realize, because it's not just the typical divorce, custody, child support. It could involve many issues such as conflicts of law between states in the United States. It could involve more complex cases like international conflicts of law, jurisdictional issues, division of property. Sometimes the property is not just in California. There are cases, and I have many of them, where the property is both in California and in Mexico.
Yeah.
I had cases of custody where the custody fight was between France and California. You want to have an attorney who understands international law, which is a specialty within this specialty. Not all attorneys can handle international law. So if you have a case that is complex, it's better to look for someone who has experience with international family law. Family law can also involve guardianships and can also involve very dramatic issues such as child abuse, neglect, abandonment, guardianships.
So is it only for family, like husband, wife, and kids, or can it be like me and my brothers with my mom? You know, that who's having custody of our mother if she's still, does it go into that same area?
Well, not exactly, but for example, I do have cases where they're having issues of grandparents' visitations rights. I've had grandparents ask for guardianships because when one of the parents either just left and we don't know where they are or died, the other parent is not able or not willing to take care of the child, then grandparents can come in. I had a case where the grandparents wanted visitations when their son died. It was a very dramatic case, and the mother of the children didn't want them in their lives. So those are very complicated cases, very sensitive, and it requires not just the knowledge of the law, but also ethics and professionalism, because sometimes the clients don't have the best case, and you have to tell them. Yeah. You have to let them know when there's a risk. The highest risk you can have sometimes is not just losing your case, but also paying the fees for the other side. Your client needs to be aware of that. That's a huge risk.
Yeah. If you lose, you have to pay those fees also. Okay, so when should I hire a family lawyer? So let's say I'm thinking I'm having problems and or I'm thinking maybe I'm going to get a divorce, maybe I'm not going to get a divorce. Do I wait until I make the decision, or do I talk to an attorney before I make my decision?
Sometimes it's a good idea to talk to an attorney, and I have had clients that come in and tell me they want to get divorced, and then when I'm talking to them, I can see they're not ready, or it's just not a good time. I had a client once that her daughter just died. And then you want to get divorced right now?
Maybe you're not thinking straight. Yeah, maybe
she was obviously not
thinking
thinking
emotions.
straight.
Yeah.
The divorce is going to take a huge emotional toll, and that's where the ethics again comes in. If I wanted a good case, because that lady obviously was going to get me a very good case with a lot of fees, but was it the best for her? Was she going to be able to take it? And it was obvious to me from that interview that she was not. Right. So I told her to wait. I told her about her rights, and she left with the peace of mind of knowing what could happen if she decide to get divorced in the future. But sometimes it's just not the best time for the client.
That says a lot about you. It's not about the money, it's really what's really best for them at the time, and then using your expertise to know when it's a good time and when it's not a good time.
And that's also part of talking to the client and understanding a client. Because I've had clients that come into my office complaining horrifically about their attorney, and then I review the file, and they did a very good job. They were successful. But the client didn't get it, and the client didn't understand what he was saying because he didn't take the time to talk to them. That's where sometimes I just have to tell a client, you should go back to your attorney and tell him the truth. You're not talking to me. I'm not understanding you. I'm the one who's paying, and you need to take the time to talk to me.
Because they are doing a good job. They're just not explaining it.
Not telling you what they're doing. You have no idea when you came in. Or it's just a very bad time to change attorneys, which is something that often happens. If you're going to have a trial, don't change attorneys a few weeks before the trial. It's bad. That's a bad idea.
I know. You might end up in jail or losing all your money. Now, what are the advantages of having a lawyer represent you? What if I just say, you know what, my husband is not that bad. I'm sure he's going to be fair. And the attorney is going to help me. What do you think about that?
Some clients are good to go with just one consultation because they understand the process, they have a fair understanding of their rights. And sometimes, for example, it's a short-term marriage. They've been married for a few years, there are no kids, there are not that many issues to be resolved. They can do well by themselves. But most of the time, I would think not. There are some clients that cannot pay me, even when I try to make it easy on them. So there's the facilitator in the courts and all over, at least the Southern California that I know, they have a facilitator's office. They help people for free. They just cannot give you advice. It's forbidden by law that they give you any kind of advice. But if they go after seeing me, they already understand the process. They just need someone to help them fill out the forms, and that's fine. Not all cases are good for that.
Right.
If you have a complex case where there are conflicts of international laws, or you have children kidnapping, or you are a green card holder and you have a domestic violence restraining order against you, it's probably not the best time to save attorney's fees. You need an
definitely.
attorney.
Get an attorney and get the right help. And retain one, not just go to the consultation, but actually retain them.
Yes.
So what's the difference? I always hear that term, retain an attorney. So if I go see an attorney, that doesn't mean he's my attorney. I have to retain him. What's the...
When you go to an attorney, they give you advice, and you pay a consultation fee, or if they give it for free, you don't pay. The advice they gave you, the attorney is liable, is responsible for that advice. But they're not representing you unless you sign a contract, you give a deposit, and that attorney comes into the record and starts representing you.
Okay. That's when you get
Yes.
retained. You have to have something written.
Yes. The California State Bar has certain rules of professionalism, and there's a rule that all attorneys, even the youngest attorneys, know if the contract, I don't know if the amount has changed again. I think it was $1,200 or $1,500. If it's over that amount, you need something in writing, which is almost always the case.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are the misconceptions of false concepts that are most commonly spread?
Oh my gosh, those are something that I
Some of
battle
them.
with all the time. One of the things that is totally wrong and a concept that is false is that because I'm in California, I'm gonna get more. They don't even know what more sometimes, but they think it's better than going to Mexico. Not always. If your property is in Mexico and you have a possibility to obtain jurisdiction in Mexico, you may be better served in Mexico because the attorney is going to charge less. And the judge is going to have more power to buy that property. If you have property in both sides of the border and you live here in San Diego, probably the divorce should be held here in San Diego. However, that doesn't mean that you're going to get more just because it's in San Diego. The laws are different, yes, but in many ways they are basically the same in terms of equality in gender. Both wife and husband today have the same possibility to pay spousal support. If you're the wife and you have a better salary or you get a better income, you may pay your husband spousal support.
I know. That's why I'm never gonna date anyone that makes less than me.
You don't
For the
want to do
record,
that.
I'm not supporting anyone.
You have the same obligation
Yeah, that
to pay
happens a
child
lot
support.
lately. Yeah, that the wife makes more money and they end up giving husband.
Or the husband loses his job
Yeah.
or has an accident, is disabled. Guess what, honey? Even if you don't make a great salary, you're going to pay spousal support. Why? Because he is unable to work.
Yeah.
And you may end up with no child support or paying him child support.
Right.
Because custody, that's another misconception. Because I'm the mom, I'm going to get the kids. No. California policy is very strongly veer into, in as much as possible, unless there's domestic violence or child abuse, in as much as possible, both parents have to be in the kids' lives. Because the rights to custody are not of the parents. They're the kids' rights.
Yeah. That's a misconception always.
That's a total misconception.
Always.
I have a constitutional right to custody. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Your child does. And what the California Constitution says, and the U.S. Constitution in great part says, is that a parent doesn't get custody rights because they are a biological parent. No, it's because they are exercising those rights. They are fulfilling their obligations and exercising those rights.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you just abandon a child, you may lose your parental rights. That is a very harsh issue. It happens seldomly, but it does happen.
But it does happen. Yeah. That is That's a lot of information for you guys, and there is a lot of misconceptions. And you know why? It's always so important that we go and talk to a professional, an attorney that knows about these cases, because you always hear something from your neighbor. Oh, no, you can do this, and you're going to get away with that. And I remember one time my friend was getting a divorce, and she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get $20,000 a month. I'm like, who told you that? Well, my neighbor, because when she did it, and I'm like, you should go talk to an attorney. And you know what? The divorce was so stressful for her because in her mind, she wanted to have that amount of money. It didn't happen that way. It was unrealistic, obviously. Plus, you know, even though they're paying child support, they still have the right to start another life. Just because you're getting a divorce doesn't mean they have to give you all the money. And I think it's more here, like for us here at the border as Hispanics, we always think as moms, we're going to keep the kids. That's something, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but it's like, no, I'm the mother. They are going to stay with me. And and you're right. We're in the U.S. and that's the law. You know, they both have the same rights.
And I've seen couples that separate. They haven't filed anything. And sometimes the dad comes to my office and says, she's not allowing me to see my kid. Who is she to allow anything? She's not a judge. That is a child that we're talking about.
He doesn't love her anymore, then.
Well, that's not how the law works. The law says both of you have the obligation and the right to be in your child's life.
Right.
But mostly it's the right of the child to have you both in his life. So that's, and the unrealistic expectation of a client can cause a lot of unnecessary stress on a person who's getting divorced. If you have unrealistic expectations, which usually come from your cousin Paco, your tia Pepa, your neighbor, everybody turns into an attorney overnight and tells you, no, but in my divorce, which is exactly the same as yours, which is never is, but they think it is, this is what you should have. And that person just gets stuck in their head that this is what they should have. And I've seen judges have to directly address that person and tell them, no, you are not, and this is why. And you just said it, you're getting divorced. If you think you're going to have the same lifestyle, you are mistaken.
Right. You're not
You
married
are
to
going to
that
have a
person.
lesser lifestyle right now, because now instead of one household, we have two.
Yeah, pay for both households. And yeah, that happens the same in real estate. When we have a client and they're buying a house or selling a house, all their family become realtors. They all tell them what we're doing wrong, what they should get, and I'm like, oh my God, how many houses have they sold, right? But yeah, that happens all the time. It's pretty frustrating sometimes because they just stress your client more than anything.
They just stress them, confuse them
Yes.
more than they need to. They already going through a horrible process.
Right, and then going through the hearing all that stuff. So how do I detect if I have a good attorney or if I don't have such a good attorney?
A good attorney is someone who's thinking of you first. And if you detect an attorney who is too concerned about the fees and not so much about you, is not dedicating time to talk to you, you are unaware or consistently unaware of what's going on, you don't understand what's going on, and you consistently get an assistant to talk to you, that is not, automatically makes that attorney a bad attorney. But you need to take charge and tell the attorney, listen, I didn't hire your assistant, I hired you, and I understand that sometimes it's okay for the assistant to talk to me, but not all the time.
Yeah.
I need your advice right now. I'm the client, I'm paying, I'm filling my contract. I need you to sit down and talk to me. I want to see my file. I want to know what's going on. Sometimes the client has to be assertive, and Hispanic clients tend to be too diplomatic. And I was like that when I first got to California, and I quickly realized that's not the way
to get
work here.
No,
that's not at all. You have to be assertive, especially when you're the client. You're paying for a service. So you need to tell the attorney when you're concerned.
Mm-hmm.
If that attorney doesn't listen or shows very little concern for you, then maybe you should consider changing attorneys.
Can you do that after you have retained them? How hard
Yes.
is it to cancel them?
It's not hard unless you're approaching trial, or for example, you just finished trial and you want to file an appeal. Changing attorneys at a certain particular time, it's a bad idea. And I have told clients, don't retain me right now. This is a horrible time. You need to stick
wait.
with this guy, especially if I see the file and they're doing a good job. They're just not very good communicating with the client. But it is a bad sign also when you see a very unorganized office. You see files all over the place. People don't return your calls. They don't know your name. They confuse you with another client. Those are red flags that this is not a good attorney. Or you can make questions to an attorney, even if you are the most uneducated person and you don't even speak English. But if you make questions such as like, what are your years of experience? How many years have you practiced family law? Have you represented petitioner and respondent? How many times? And what are the most difficult cases you handle? And then you start focusing on your own facts and ask questions regarding, if you have a case where custody is the worst issue, you want to ask questions about that. And the attorney should have simple, short, and right away answers, because someone who knows their craft is going to answer right away in the simplest manner.
Yeah.
If they don't, and they start with technical language and legalese, that's not a good sign. Or an overly
They're just
aggressive
following their
attorney,
script.
that's not a good sign.
Exactly.
I had clients that want a show. They want an attorney that huffs and puffs. I just told the client, look, if you want a show, I'm not the right guy for you. There are a ton of my colleagues who would put on a great show and they will huff and puff and act like that. That's unprofessional. That's not the rep I want to have. And I'm not going to do that for you or anyone else. I'm sorry, but if this is what you want, I'm not going to do it.
I'm not the one for you.
I'm not the one for you. And usually they stick with me, but they know I'm not doing a show for them.
I'm just going to get you the best results. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Getting the best result, what's best for the kids, what's best for everyone.
If you ended up better at the end than you were before you hired that attorney, you're doing great. Don't change attorneys.
What if I already started? Like, what if I went to court to the first hearing by myself and I'm doing all these by myself? Can I hire you in the middle of all that?
Yes, you can hire an attorney at any point, the beginning, the middle, the end. An attorney is usually, for example, in my case, and I've heard some of my colleagues say the same thing, when a client comes in, they have a big hearing, very important hearing, or even a trial, and it's just a few weeks away. We're not going to take that client because that is not not a good idea. That's not enough time for us to prepare. We would not be able to do our best job in such a short time, or we already have something else. So if you are not doing great or not sure, when you get your date, they're going to give you at least 2 months in advance. So at least talk with an attorney and think about it for not too long, because otherwise a good attorney is most likely not going to take it.
Right. What do you think stops people from hiring an attorney, like here in this area of South San Diego?
I think most people think that an attorney is too expensive, or they think that we all charge by the hour. And yes, we all charge by the hour sometimes, but to tell you the truth, right now there are very few clients that can pay by the hour. I'm not saying there are not clients like that, yes, but the average client cannot pay by the hour. It's a person who has a regular job with a regular salary. So what we do, especially in my case, I try to work with a client, and the consultation I use to detect what is the most important subject, the most important thing for the client, which is usually custody. Not always, sometimes it's division of property, because some clients have children who are grown up. But once you detect what is the most important issue, you can tell the client, I can represent you on a limited scope basis, which is, I'm going to represent you only on this issue. The rest of the divorce is really nothing, because you don't have any minor children, you just have this division of property. I'll just represent you in this. We do it for a flat fee, and they pay me a deposit, and then they make payments every month. That is the way that most clients can retain an attorney. Some of them, they can do it not even with that arrangement, and sometimes I just send them to the facilitator, And some of them retain me when they already have a hearing date. And because I had the consultation, I know the case. Sometimes I'm able to go with them to the court so that they don't get lost, especially when there's an attorney on the other side. They're not going to be able to handle the hearing as good as an attorney. So.
Right, you can catch all the little read between the lines, because it is especially when you're there in front of the judge, it gets like a little scary.
It gets. I remember my first hearing. I was scared. I was nervous, and I was an admitted attorney.
You're like, wait, I can't be scared. I'm supposed to be. Yeah, well, the thing is that it's an important case. You care, so that's why you get nervous. And if you were there just to make the buck and like whatever happens, I'm getting paid, then you wouldn't be that nervous. So, what type of cases do you handle?
I've handled a range of cases. Most of my cases deal with custody. That I would say that's the majority.
Because you don't have to be getting a divorce to go to court for custody, right?
Because many couples are not married. They just live together, or they just had a relationship and had a child. And that doesn't mean that you're getting a divorce. It's just the issue of custody and child support. Child support, I don't take that many cases because the Department of Child Support Services can do that for free. And they have the best resources that no attorney has. They can freeze bank accounts, suspend driver's license, take away passports. No attorney is going to be able to do that. So Child Support Services is the best resource unless there's a problem where you do need an attorney to
agree on the amount and that. Yeah, okay. So most of the cases are like that. And what are your payment options?
I do flat fees for most clients. I ask for a 50% of the total amount, and then I usually give payments in 3, 4, and up to 5 installments. We don't charge interest. Our office has had, I would say, about almost 80% of successful retainers, which means they paid and there was no problem. It's very rare when we get a client that gets away with leaving a payment that they didn't make, and they got their case resolved.
Who would want to do that to an attorney, right? That would be doing it to the wrong person.
They stick us with some leftover bill, but most clients are very honest and they do pay.
That's a brave one, leaving without paying the attorney. So let me kind of show you who's here. Like we have, because we're live on Facebook with this show right now, it'll show you here like all the people. The ones in white are people that are making comments, and then the green is people that are watching us. So we have like all these people here. So I'm gonna do just a shout. There's a few. Let me just kind of start at the beginning. Okay. We have Karen Vargas. That's our manager, and she's so supportive. She's always watching our show and giving us feedback, participating. Sometimes asking questions when she already knows the answer, just to ask the question for other people. So she's great. Ana Hueso, she's one of our very loyal followers. She's always here. Jenny, she's also part of, she's also a realtor. Then we have Eileen, she's one of our managers here, payroll manager. Ana Hueso, we have Erika Gutierrez, we have Tony Reyes, David Gonzalez, that's my brother. Claudia Lomelí, Leti Hueso, Erika Langford, Anthony Andaya, that's one of our managers also from another one of the, we have 5 offices, so 6 in one of the offices. Summer, that's our front desk lady, you met her when you walked in. And Tony Reyes.
Oh, he has a question.
Okay,
yeah.
So you have, she has a question, she's going to go over that right now with us. Lisa Acosta, that's one of our clients. Sandra Hendricks, she's one of the coaches. Mayra Kende. Hola, señora Mayra, ¿cómo está? Me da mucho gusto que esté aquí presente. Luis Isaías, Gabriela Briseño, Don Vandover. He's also another agent here at the office. Hi, Don. Thank you for joining. I know you're always so busy, so I appreciate you watching. Jamie Guerrero. Hi, Jamie. And Claudio Castruita. You will never need her because you're going to be married for life. Angie said she would kill you if you try to get it. Juan Peiro, he's also my high school friend. He's been married forever. Tony Reyes. Okay, so let's go over the questions because I know there's a couple of questions.
Yeah. If you're a couple if a couple got married in Mexico, now they live here, they wanted to divorce, would you do that here or in Mexico?
So let's repeat the question, because just in case you can hear
Okay.
it. So if a couple got married here, no, they got married in Mexico, but now they live here and they want to get a divorce, do they do it here or in Mexico?
I get that question all the time. It's a very frequent question from clients. If it doesn't matter where you get married, it matters where you live.
Oh, okay.
Because jurisdiction is a word that sounds very technical, but in reality it just means the power that a judge has to enforce his own orders. And what happens is, if you live here for at least 6 months or more, you want to get divorced where you live.
Okay.
That's the judge who's going to be able to issue orders that are going to be enforceable. Because otherwise, why would you go to Mexico? You don't live there anymore.
Okay, so you can get divorced here
Yes.
even though you got married in another state or in another country.
Yes.
Okay, another question?
Is it true that in Mexico, if both parents pass away, the grandparents on the side of the father have priority?
No. Grandparents' visitations are very particular. I have a case right now where both parents passed away, and that is going to be a hard case. Because the grandparents, fortunately, and this is a particular case that I have, they got visitation rights about last year, and they have been exercising them. It's not automatic, because when the client called me, that's the first thing I told her: don't think automatically you get the kids. You have no legal rights right now other than visitations.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go back to the court, tell the judge what's going on, and get either guardianship or see if you can get legal custody as a grandparent. Most likely what we're going to get is guardianship. I don't know. I told the client I need to research, but it's not automatic, and there's no preference for one or the other.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Next question is, if you're already working with an attorney and you feel she's not doing what you expect, can you switch attorneys right away?
We did cover that on the video, so
Yeah.
that was a question that was asked before that was already answered.
Yeah.
Next question.
What about if the dad has a house but doesn't have a will and he dies? Can the kids fight for the house? I have 2 daughters and he has 2 old kids.
That is more of a probate question.
Yeah.
You need a probate attorney instead of a family law attorney. 'Cause
Lorena
that's-
Salcedo, we have our
That's
probate specialist.
yeah, that's about inheritance
Yeah.
and that type of right. It's not gonna be held in a
Fam-
family
family.
courtroom.
Okay.
So for that, it would be, who's asking that? Anna Hueso?
Anna.
Okay,
Yeah.
Anna, so you would need to contact Lorena Salcedo for that, which she's been on our show a couple of times. Okay,
Great
that's it. So
information.
let me just go over some of the comments here.
And I think that I didn't mention, but I just want to mention while you're looking.
Yeah.
I also do prenuptial agreements.
Oh, really?
Those are
Good point.
Yes, those are more common now because
Than ever.
younger couples are understanding that this doesn't mean that you are thinking about getting divorced. This is not insulting to the person who is being asked to sign a prenup. It doesn't mean that they're not trusting you.
Mhm.
The prenup has, like anything, it has both sides of the coin. Because I've told, especially women that are asked to sign a prenup, I tell them, look, you can see it both ways. You can be insulted, or you can think, hey, if I get divorced, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Who can tell that without a prenup? I tell you right now, nobody. Because you never know what a judge is going to do. You never know what's going to happen in the future. But if you have a prenup and you do good planning, like living trust or something else on top of that prenup, you will be certain that if your husband dies or you get divorced, you know exactly what you have. Or if your husband is very rich, but he's also handles a business that is very risky and does stock market sales, that type of risky kind of thing that they can lose every penny from one day to the other. Wouldn't you like to know that, well, that's a tough hobby, but my house is mine and my bank account is also mine. Well, creditors, good luck with that, because you can't touch this.
Right. Yeah, it
This
protects
is
you.
protected, and that's why you want an attorney who knows what they're doing. Because I have a ton of clients who hear the cost of the prenup and say, no, I can download it from the internet. Don't waste the paper or the ink in that prenup because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That is as much as that prenup is going to be worth. They're not drafted by an attorney that you don't know. A prenuptial agreement is not a contract. It's a process.
Yeah.
And it has to follow protocol. If you don't know what you're doing, just don't waste your time. Don't do a prenup.
Yeah. You know, I went to a training for Tom Ferry in Las Vegas last year, and they were talking about that. They were saying if it was about making teams for real estate, but they were saying it wouldn't it be nice if when you're starting the partnership of your business, you sign the divorce papers when you're opening that partnership together, because you know what, when you're opening that partnership, you're all happy. You're like, oh my God, this business is gonna thrive and we're gonna make all this money. So let's see let's just pretend it didn't. Let's say what's gonna happen. And you put that on paper at the beginning, so then you can't just work out of emotions when you're trying to leave the partnership. Like, okay, we have an exit contract. And I think it would be good, like, doing that for a marriage as well. Like, you know, hopefully we're never going to get a divorce, but in case we do, you know, let's have a prenup and make
and
it fair for
maybe you
everyone.
never get divorced, but eventually one of you is going to die, and or something bad could happen.
Yeah.
Your husband can be forced to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want your house and your stuff protected?
Right. Yeah, definitely. You do. So Karen here was saying how great to know she's an attorney in both countries, and not only bilingual but also bicultural. That's awesome. Good information. Great questions being asked. Yeah, so many comments. We have to get you to go in there with your personal page and start seeing what everybody said. We're kind of pushing her so she can start her business social media.
Yes, I need
She's
to
too busy handling
get
cases.
into the modern era of the internet.
Yeah, that's like the new way to connect with people, because that's where they're going to try to find you. Sometimes, you know, I do look at people's pages. Like if I have a new client, I'll go in there and see, you know, because sometimes you kind of see what they're about.
Yeah.
And I know they do the same with my personal page. So I think by them going into my personal page, they get to see who they're working with. Like they kind of, I mean, I don't post everything there, obviously. No drama. Dirty. What does it say? La ropa sucia se queda en casa. Okay, so this is for a drawing. So every day when we have the show, we do a drawing and we give a gift card at the end of the show for the people that participated.
Oh, that is
so
great.
you get to pull.
Okay, good
one.
luck.
Yes.
And the winner is Summer.
You forgot the little
Summer.
noise thing. Summer! Yay! She's behind this wall. Summer! She won. Hey, congratulations. Sometimes she's really busy, so we tell her, like, come on, sneak in and log into our show. But
Today I
sometimes.
did.
Yeah?
I said, Summer, don't forget to make
Oh, but that was good.
Yeah.
So
She won.
She's going to share that.
So remember, next week, so we're having, next week is our 1 year anniversary for the show. We've been doing it every
congratulations.
Wednesday. So we're going to have like a big show next week. We're going to give some certificates to people that have been following us and helping us. And then we have some sponsors, so we're giving out, it's almost $1,000 in gift cards that we're going to be giving out next week on Wednesday. So we do have a lot of followers.
Oh, nice.
You have to come more often.
Yes, I'll be happy to anytime.
Would you be willing to do one in Spanish next time?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
Yes.
I think it's a good idea that we have one in Spanish, because we do have a lot of Spanish-speaking followers, or we do have a lot of our friends that their parents need an attorney and they don't speak English. So I think it would be good. We did it for the probates, how to hold title on your property. We did it also in Spanish with Lorena Salcedo. It would be nice for you and Lorena to meet.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll try to introduce you guys together. Okay, guys. Well, anything else you want to add?
Well, I didn't talk about domestic restraining orders. I do that too. And international children kidnapping. They're not the most common cases I take, but I am in the list of the Department of State.
Mhm.
Some of those cases I take as a volunteer,
Oh.
but they're rare, and sometimes I just don't have the time availability. But I love those cases. I have to say that they're one of my favorite, because you get to do something very different,
Yeah.
and that's going to have a lot of impact in somebody's life. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. It's always a blessing and it's good karma.
yes.
It always comes back. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. We're gonna promote your address here and your phone number on the posting, so that way if anybody needs an attorney. Plus, we're gonna start referring you now that you're so close to us
Yeah.
here.
Thank
And
you.
guys, we have a new listing coming up. Just changing the subject a little bit. We have a new listing coming up in Lemon Grove. It's a very nice house, upgraded, 4 bedrooms, 3 full baths, huge yard, 2-car detached garage. It's a very beautiful house, and it's gonna be staged this coming week, and it's gonna be listed for $569. Correct? $569. So if you guys are looking for a house, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths in Lemon Grove, please give us a call. We don't have a video yet. We'll have it next week, but don't forget to join us next Wednesday for our anniversary, and we're gonna have a lot of prizes. Thank you, all of you, for following us all this year. We made so many mistakes at the beginning, so we're fine, getting better as we go. But hey, it's about having fun and just connecting, bringing people from the community,
Yeah.
and just having like a little chat here. And it doesn't need to be perfect.
Exactly. And I like to have the opportunity to give, some information for free so that the people have a better idea and can select better the attorney that is best for them.
Right. Well, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Oh, you know what? Before we go, what's your address?
I'm at 823 Anchorage Place in Chula Vista 91914. We're right here, literally a few blocks away from here. And
You're
that's
off Fenton,
where our office
right?
is.
You're off Fenton and
Off
Harold?
Fenton, and then you enter Anchorage through Harold Street.
Uh-huh.
It's a small street. Harold Street starts with all the industry, the small
The warehouses,
manufacturers.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you get to the offices, which is where I am.
Okay, perfect. So if you guys need an attorney, don't forget, give her a call. We'll have all the information on the top of this video. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.